Hey everyone, it's your host Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today I have a very special guest, a very thought-provoking guest on the show today. And this man is absolutely phenomenal. He's changing the game. He actually has a whole academy, a whole education system that we need to pay attention to, because he and what he's doing, him and his team, are the future. And it seems like we should have been paying attention to this for a very long time. And that's why he's the pioneer of this. And I wanted to spread the word. And we invited him on the show. And he said yes. Yes. And so we are happy to have, coming to the Gentleman Style Podcast stage, Mr. Damon Darnell. Coming to the Gentleman Style Podcast show, this man is known as the Drone Boss, the founder of the Sky Eye Network. And he's been doing this for over 25 years of drone experience and flying drone, and has logged over 10,000 drone flight hours across the United States and across the world. He teaches these tips. He has set 2 world records and competed in numerous national world competitions. And he's here with us on the Gentleman Style Podcast stage. So I can't hold this man back anymore. Help me welcome to the stage the incredible, the amazing Drone Boss.
All right. Good to be here, man. So great to be here with you, Marcus.
So great to have you, sir. This is a special conversation for me because, sir, let me tell you, I'll share some pieces of me. I've been terrified. I had a drone accident. I had a friend, she had a drone, and I crashed it. And I never touched the stuff since. And so this is personal for me, to have a guest like with yourself with so much experience, so much wisdom to share. But I want to peel back the layers, sir. Why? You have an incredible mind. You could be doing anything, right? Why have you invested so much energy and resource and time into becoming the drone expert, the grand poobah of drone piloting?
Well, I think it just started from a passion. I started flying drones back in 1976. So I've been flying them for a long time. And it was one of those deals that I think anyone with a passion or a drive or a hobby for something that, they kind of always aspire to be sponsored. If you like shooting hoops, you want to get picked up and you want to play for the NBA, or if you're into football, you want to get picked up by the NFL and get paid for it. And so that was one of the things that I kind of set a goal. I've always been really good about that, is just setting a goal on something and then, just like a dog with a bone, just not letting go and not letting all the other, naysayers around me come by and knock me off of my motivation. So anyway, we did that, as you mentioned, set a couple world records and competed there and got sponsored, and all that was well and good. But the reality is that and $5 will get you a Starbucks, coffee, right? It's just it wasn't all that, especially in this country, in the United States. But then I started a commercial drone business back in 1993, and that's where things really changed. And I'll tell you, one of the pivotal things that really changed for me was there was a search and rescue operation. I'd always help with first responders, and I'd always, with the fire chief or with anyone that was around. And the fire chief had called me up and said, "Hey, we have this Alzheimer's patient who had wandered off the care facility. Somehow he had, just wandered off." And this was in Houston, Texas in August. So it's like the heat index is like 120 something. And they had over 100 people looking for this guy. And he asked me if I had a drone and I could go out and look for it. And I said, "Yeah, we're just playing with a new thermal drone." This was, decades ago. And we went out there, and man, we found him in like 11 minutes. And at that moment, a switch just clicked, and I was like, "Holy crap! This is more than just something fun. It's more than just a way to create a side hustle and make some money. This can really impact and change lives." And anyway, I was just kind of on a mission from there to try and help as many people learn about it, educate them about the industry. The challenge was, for really the last 120 years, is drones have been really a self-regulating industry. And what I mean by that is they were incredibly hard to fly. You had to build them, and they were super difficult to fly. And not many people took the time it took to get proficient enough to operate on a professional level. So there were very few pilots that could operate at that level, just literally a handful. But all that changed really in 2013. And the technology, thanks to our cell phones, with these little accelerometers and micro gyros and all this cool stuff and the computer technology, the drones got a lot easier to fly. Now, not all of them, maybe like the one you were flying, because now these newer drones that are, kind of more mid-tier pricing, we call them prosumer drones that are, really consumer drones, but they can operate on a professional level. And these things have crazy sensors. They have object avoidance sensors. They have LiDAR to keep you from crashing in the dark. They have GPS and GLONASS, and they have all kinds of, compass and barometer. So it's literally like playing a video game. If you get confused or you get backwards, you just let go of the sticks and it just freezes in midair and just stays there. So the drones have gotten easier to fly and harder to crash than ever before in history. And it's AI in the sky. And that's the part that's so cool, because we're in this unique window. I was talking to one of my mentors a couple years ago, and I was like, we're in the middle of this. And he even brought it up. He goes, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for you and anybody that gets involved in this. And I said, but it doesn't feel like it. And he leaned in and looked at me and he said, how many once in a lifetime opportunities have you been in before?
Touche.
I was like, you got me there. He said, I know you weren't around when, Henry Ford launched the assembly line in automobiles. And I know you weren't there for aviation. I know you weren't there for TV or radio. I know you weren't there for cell phones, and he just rattled off all this stuff. And I was like, you're right. It just feels like life. So
it does.
Pretty exciting.
That is pretty exciting to be at the cusp of something, and a mentor is looking at you like, do it, take the leap. Nothing says confirmation than a mentor, patting you on the back or pushing you over the edge, whichever one you want to choose,
right,
saying go for it, right? Go for the goal, go for what I know you're good at and what you can achieve in. And that story you shared, thank you for sharing that story. As I'm sitting here, as I listen to you speak, drones are everywhere, right? What happened in California? What did they use to put out some of those fires, right? Drones. Those are drones. Those are not manned. Some of those vehicles, they use helicopters, right? But they also use drones to drop off some of those fire extinguishing agents and water, and maybe I can't remember, get some people out of those hot spots, right? Or find people in those hot spots. Drones are everywhere now. Now in the age of flying cars, right? Well, who's already pioneered that? Drones. The technology's been there. It's not new, right? They don't have to quote unquote reinvent the wheel, right? What's already working, and let's make a bigger model of that, which is a flying car, which is a drone car, right? Now you're just putting bodies inside the seat. But you're right. So powerful. So powerful. Where do you see the future of this heading? Is it flying cars for real? Do you think someone is going to really perfect that and really take it off the ground, or where it's too far away, you think?
No. I mean, yes and no is the short answer for that. And let me expand on that a little bit. So for the last decade, Uber Air, and if you're not familiar with Uber Air, it's their air division, what they call the low altitude economy. That's essentially everything 500 feet and below, because manned aircraft, they can fly 500 feet and above, but they're not allowed to fly under 500 feet unless you're near an airport and you're landing or taking off. So this low altitude economy, which is going to be drones and manned drones, which are these transports, essentially taxis. And Uber Air has invested heavily over the last decade in development and also buying up a lot of property. So like those on the big cities, those clover leafs, those big giant, the highways where they circle around, and there's that land in the middle. It's pretty good size, but it's inaccessible anywhere. I mean, you can't access it. And so other than via, the air with a drone. So they've been buying this up, and they've even got some of their promo stuff and what they're kind of envisioning that this whole ecosystem is gonna look like. And it's pretty cool how it's gonna work. And actually, last month, they just, the CCAA, which is basically like the FAA in China, they just released the first drone taxis that are in China. So they've been flying for almost a month now. And what they're
with people in it.
With people in it. They're running hundreds of flights a day, all autonomous. And now it's not full-blown taxi service yet. I think they have to do 6 months of beta testing first. And so they're in 2 cities in China, and they're running essentially sightseeing tours. But people get in them. The drone takes off, goes up, and it flies around, goes all over the city, does its stuff, comes back, lands. They get out. Next people get in. And once this goes through without much challenge or hiccup, at least what they report to us, right? Um,
Sorry.
Yeah,
You're good. Sorry.
then they open it up to first responders, to actual taxis, and then it's going to be the whole kind of Uber Air thing. And I think we'll see that in the U.S. probably sooner than later. One of the big challenges we have in the United States is we have the most crowded airspace on planet Earth, just with manned aircraft, right? Helicopters and airplanes, and ultralights and recreational stuff and all that. But because of the FAA, who's the regulatory body in charge of it, we also have the safest airspace on planet Earth. The challenge with that is all the regulations and the regulatory side that comes with it. That being said, we've seen a massive push recently, and in just a few months ago, actually it's probably been about 6 weeks ago, Walmart just got the green light from the FAA, and they launched with a company called Zipline, and they have 2 test cities they're doing, one in Texas, and the other one, gosh, I forget where it is. I want to say it's like in Alabama or something like that. But anyway, if you're within 8 miles of the
Walmart.
I'm sorry, it's 2 miles of the Walmart and products up to 8 pounds, your package up to 8 pounds, you get free delivery by a drone in 30 minutes or less.
No, you kicked it off for me. I used to do delivery services, and I was doing a delivery, and I'm here in Virginia, and I was doing a delivery, and literally a drone operator, he was standing in it was literally like a small development, a community that was being built up. Some people had moved in, but they were still building new housing, and the Walmart was literally like 2 blocks away. It was literally a short distance. And I got out my car because it was the craziest thing. He was standing in the middle of this field that was undeveloped land, and a drone was coming in and landing in front of me. I got out my car just out of pure curiosity. I said, "Dude, what are you doing?" "Yeah, I work for Walmart. I'm testing their new delivery stuff." I said, "What?" That is bananas, right? Imagine, now I say bananas, but imagine bananas being delivered via drone to your front door from the Walmart down the street, 2 blocks away. That is insane.
And now it's a reality. So the drones can go there. They'll go 10 miles, and they can carry 15 pounds in their current configuration. So once they get through, they have 3 months of beta testing they're going to do, and then they'll start rolling it out to other Walmarts. And and of course, I think that, I forget the statistic I was reading. It's like 96% or 94% of, there's a Walmart within 10 miles of like 94, 96% of the population in the United States. So basically every single Walmart will have this. And the coolest part is there's no technical operator. It's all AI driven, and it's all app based. And it's pretty cool. Like the app, you can choose where it'll pull up your house, and then you choose where you want it. If you want it dropped in the backyard, in your driveway, in the front porch, you have a couple different options based on the tree coverage and all the stuff that's around there. But I mean, and this is just brand new. This is just literally weeks ago that this launched, and we're going to see this roll out on a massive level, with everything. So it's pretty sweet.
Pretty sweet. Super sweet. I'm excited. I think, and I don't know if this died when Jeff Bezos retired from Amazon or stepped down from Amazon. But I remember watching the CNBC plug about Amazon trying to set up some kind of drone delivery system. I mean, they already got it in the warehouse. They already got the robots in the warehouses doing a lot of the automation and heavy lifting and moving the carts around. But it was something, it really struck a chord with me when I saw the potential that they were experimenting with, like a hive model where it's like a big air balloon, and it flies over, and then it opens the bottom of the air balloon, and out comes these drones with all your packages to deliver in your city. And the drone is the mama beehive, right? Or a beehive system where, just like you said, in the center of that major hustle and bustle highway, there's just empty space, and there's a hive. and the drones recharge, they connect, and they pick, and the Amazon trucks and delivery systems and the last mile express delivery systems deliver to the hive. And then through an automated system, it sorts your packaging and assigns it to a drone. And now the drone delivers to that adjacent city. And so it was just George Jetson, right? The Jetsons.
Right.
It was literally like, oh my gosh.
That's what we're in right now. That's literally what we're in. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Have you been brought in on has anyone sought your insight? Any of the distributors and manufacturers, anyone reached out to you to pick your brain and do some testing? Because you have logged the most hours I've ever seen. So
yeah, we've done. I've gotten the privilege of working with some of the top aerobatic pilots in the world, doing some cool stuff, developing maneuvers and stuff for them. And we've worked with different drone companies and different alphabet agencies, DEA and ATF and CIA and the FAA and stuff like that. So we've gotten to do some really cool stuff along those lines. And the neat part about it is the way, well, AI in general, right? Like AI is just, at the rate that it's growing and learning, and with AI in the sky, it's basically the same thing. It's just going at hyper speed, so to speak, and it's getting better and better, and more integration into everyday life. And I've been telling people for the last 15 years, that we're not too far away, and especially technology wise, we're there now, where these things are all just autonomous. They're going to be like sprinkler systems. They'll pop out of the ground. They're going to fly their missions. Like take agriculture, for example. They'll fly out over a crop and then, analyze the crop, come back on their self-charging dock. They'll go back underground, automatically upload all their information to the computer. The AI will run through, analyze all the data. Then it'll disseminate it out to different drones that will do spot spraying, fertilizer, pesticide spraying, and then further to the GPS guided tractors that'll go out there and autonomously do whatever they need to do. And
the drones found all the weeds and all the bugs, and where's the site that they need to spray and cultivate, and what crops are ready to pull.
Yeah. It's, and like I said, the technology is pretty much there now, but it's the regulatory side that's keeping the human being, the pilot, still kind of in there. So, two things that are cool, like just on a golf course, like we can fly over a golf course and we can tell where they're watering too much, not watering enough, over fertilizing, under fertilizing, and which all that sounds well and good, but the real benefit to the golf course is, number one, we can also detect disease. So if there's some kind of fungus or some kind of disease or encroachment that's coming in, with NDVI imagery, we can actually see what you can't see with the naked eye. So we can tell them, hey, this tree, there's something wrong with it, or this green, there's something wrong with it. They can go do a soil sample and be like, oh my gosh, and they can get ahead of it. But the real world value is not only that, and that saves them, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but we save them literally about $200,000 of wasted fertilizer a year because they just over fertilize everything. And then on the watering side, we save them between 12 and 18 million gallons of wasted water a year because they're just over watering everything. And then we can also prioritize what needs the most attention now, what needs the least amount of attention now. And pretty much anything that takes water and fertilizer, we can do this for. We just did a not too long ago an avocado orchard, and we picked up an anomaly. There was this one tree that had a different imprint on it. So we told the farmer about it, and he sent out an arborist to do a core sample of it. And turns out it's got this super rare disease that, normally it's not even detectable until the end of the season after it's infected the entire crop. And this guy was just like, they were able to contain it, remove that one tree, and save the crop. And he was like, you don't understand how much this literally saved us millions of dollars, because it takes somewhere in the neighborhood of like 8 to 10 years before they can, if they have to wipe the whole orchard out, replant it, and get it to producing again. He's like, and so now he just does it. He has us fly it every 6 months just to make sure, and that's just with the crop stuff. We did a golf course that over it was in Texas, that they had a flood, surprise, right? And it destroyed the course, and the insurance company, I think it caused one So it was $1.7 million worth of damage, and they cut him a check for 600,000. And they said, unfortunately, that other 1.1 million we can't cover because you guys don't have any proof of the condition of the course. And all they had to go by was Google Earth shots that were like 5 years old or something. And so we did it. We just did a demo for him, and he was so excited. This was the marketing director, but then, he was like, "Oh, hey, I wonder." And he sent an image over to the adjuster, and the adjuster's like, "If you have this for the whole golf course, I can cut you that $1.1 million check tonight." And he's like, "No, we don't have it, but we will in the future." He's like, so they do they have us do a scan every year just so they have it in case something happens, which is pretty cool.
So I have failed you. I have been geeking out in the whole segment of this conversation, this interview. I need to backtrack. I need to step back a little bit and ask the right questions. For those that don't know or know the steps to become a drone operator, and this is going to segue to my follow-up question, which is, do you think there's a need for drone pilots? That's my follow-up question. But what is the process today of becoming a drone operator or a drone pilot? Because it's not just I go to Best Buy. It's not just I order my drone on Amazon, because that's what I thought. I thought it was just I just pick up my drone and I start flying and whizzing around. I read the manual and that's it. It's not that simple. Can you explain for those that don't know what it takes to become a drone operator?
Yeah. Well, and I'll dive into your follow-up question, but to hit that first, there's a massive need for drone pilots right now because the demand is way up here and the supply's down here. Now, it won't be like that for long. Eventually, in the next 1, maybe 2 years, it's going to even out and it'll be like any other business. But right now, it's like you can suck and get in there and you can do good. It's like crazy. It's just the fact that you're doing aerial imagery that just blows most people's minds. I mean, like, heck, even the Discovery channels, there are a couple rules for doing drone video work, like, kind of common sense rules. Like, one, if you're flying the drone and you don't want to get the shadow of the drone in the camera, right, in the shot. Kind of like if you're doing a movie, you don't want to see in the mirror the reflection of the camera and the camera guy sitting there.
Standing there.
Right. It's just like that would never happen. But with drones, national TV shows like Discovery Channel and stuff, they all have drone pilots on there and they all break that rule. You see the shadows all the time. The color grading's all off and horrible. Sometimes it's even out of focus. I mean, stuff that would never be allowed in regular cinematography, but just the fact that it's an aerial shot, then you can suck and still do great, which is nuts. Now, to get into your first part of the question, which is what's involved, it's pretty stinking easy right now, but it is highly regulated because we are operating aircraft in national airspace, and it's a big privilege and also a responsibility because you don't want to not understand the rules or not. You don't know what you don't know, and the last thing you want to do is go up there and cause a crash and have an airplane go down in a neighborhood and kill 100 people just because you didn't know what you didn't know what you're supposed to be doing. So there is essentially a license that you do have to get from the FAA. The good news is it's right now, at least, it's just a written test. So you go in there, most people, I recommend they study for about 9 hours, maybe 12 at the most, but somewhere around there, and then you'll be totally prepared to do it. I've created a whole training course on it. I've got a book that, that people can get really inexpensively. They can pick it up on Amazon and that'll get them through the test. Or for people that want more hand holding, we have a real comprehensive video course that walks them through it. And the video course, we even give you a guarantee that you'll pass your test. If you don't pass the test the first time, not only do we refund you what you paid for it, we'll also refund you whatever you paid the FAA to take the test. And that's how confident we are. And I've actually trained almost 30,000 people at the time of this podcast here, and I think we've only had 4 that we've had to refund, and 2 of them they never even logged in and watched any of the videos or anything. So technically, we didn't have to do it, but still, they submitted it, so we did it anyway. But the key is you got to go out and you got to get the license and you got to do it, and it's just
before you buy. Get
Well, but so the actual law is, so there's I guess there's kind of three steps that you have to follow to be legal. Number one, if you're just going to fly recreationally, there's this thing called a trust test, and it's just a little 30-minute kind of educational piece where you go through, you watch a couple videos, you answer a couple questions, and basically it's just telling you some of the stuff you might not know, like if you're within 5 miles of an airport, you need to get permission to be able to fly there. You can't fly over stadiums and venues,
military bases.
military bases. You can't fly. You can't fly when you're smoking crack or doing drugs or whatever. Under the influence, right? So there's some of it's kind of common sense, but you don't know, you don't know. And it's really because people have this mindset, oh, it's just a toy, and they don't really think about, but you're sharing airspace with manned aircraft. And so you need to know some limitations, like you can't fly over 400 feet. The reason that is because manned aircraft, they cannot go below 500 feet. So we have this nice little 100-foot buffer of safety there. And so it's just understanding some of that stuff. But so the trust test, that is for everybody. It's free. And you have to go through and take that, even if you're flying recreationally or professionally. The second part is you have to register your drone. Now, if you're recreationally flying and your drone is less than 249 grams, which essentially 8 ounces, less than a stick of butter, then you don't have to register it, and you can fly it. However, if you are flying commercially, meaning that it's got there's monetization somewhere attached to it. So if you're doing it directly and you're getting paid, or you're doing it for a realtor and they're selling a house, even if you didn't get paid, there's a transaction going on with the real estate sale. So there's monetization attached to it. So that has to be done by a 107 licensed pilot. So if you're flying commercially, you have to get your 107, which is the FAA written test. And then you also, when you register your drone, you have to do a separate registration for each drone that you're flying commercially. So the way I kind of equate it is like a driver's license and a license plate. When the DMV, they give you, a human being, a number, driver's license number. With the drone, if you're flying recreationally, then they give you, the human being, a number. And if you have 25 little drones, then you're required to write that number on each one of the drones. You can just put on a piece of tape and stick it on there. And that's, in case anything goes down, if it crashes, if it causes damage, they know, where it is. Then commercially, if you're flying anything commercially, you have to register each drone separately, kind of like the DMV does. If you have a car and a truck and a motorcycle or a boat, you get a different license plate number for each vehicle that's tied to that VIN number. So if you're operating commercially, you're going to register yourself recreationally, and then each drone you're flying commercially, you'll register that one. And it's only $5, and it lasts several years, so it's not super expensive. But that is what's required to fly commercially and to fly legally. The trust test, you got to go through and register it, which takes a couple minutes. And then the biggest one is, if you're flying commercially, you got to get that 107.
And how much is that test?
So that test, it fluctuates. Right now, I think it's $180 is how much it costs to take that test. And then there's a recurrent, which means every 2 years you have to take the test again. But the good news, at least right now, the test is free. The recurrent test it's free, and it's online, and it's pretty easy to take.
Powerful. And with a rating like that, where you've only had 4 people fail the test, that's really good to pass the test first time up. That's really, really good standard right there. Because who wants to spend $180 and then fail?
Well,
right?
Yeah, and 10, 12, 15 hours of your life studying it, right?
Right.
That's the worst part. Then that's gone too, because it's almost like learning a new language. It's most people aren't, they're not familiar with it, so it's just a little bit different.
So perfect. So I want to make sure I solidify this. I can buy the drone. I need to know how heavy it is or how many ounces it is. And once I buy the drone, then I need to make a decision. Well, I need to make a decision before I even buy a drone, whether it's going to be recreational or commercial. Then once I make that decision, then I go buy the applicable drone to do that thing, whether I'm going to be making money or this is just a hobby and this is just for fun. And
Yeah.
then once I have my drone, depending on which licensure, you see what he did there? Depending on what licensure, if I'm going to be doing recreational commercial, I need 10 license plates for all my drones that are making money for me, or just I need to register myself that I am a pilot and I'm just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything there?
No, you got it. Yep, that's right. Spot on. Yep. And the coolest part about it, and what I love about it, because I know this is your podcast is about, finance and entrepreneurship and side hustles. I haven't seen a better business opportunity that allows the amount of crazy money that can be made. I mean, we have kids that are 17 years old that are making more money than seasoned airline pilots that are flying, for United and Delta and American Airlines. And they're doing it in literally months with no real investment. And the cool part about, like, you can get a drone for about $1,000 that can do a professional and can easily generate, six figures or multiple six figures the first year out doing the business. And it's just, and you can suck, right? Like that's the part that just blows my mind. And you look at that with any other industry. By the time a commercial airline pilot's making, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, I mean, they put in like 30 years and usually tens of thousands of dollars in sim time and training and licenses that they've had to cover themselves. They've paid their dues basically working for free for decades, and then they finally get to start making money. And this is, even a franchise, you look at the typical franchise, and according to the National Franchise Association, average franchise is $250,000, $250,000, and you don't break even, meaning you don't start to make money for about 3 to 6 years after you start to franchise, because you're just trying to recoup your investment. And the other part, which I'm not a huge fan on franchises, because they take 5 to 10% of your gross sales for life. Right. Which is, and there's a lot of companies that run on like a 11 to 17% profit margin. So they're taking almost all of your profit there. So, and what we do is we help people start their own businesses so they get to keep all their money and do whatever they want with it, which I think is the best part.
You skipped ahead. You saw my cheat sheet, because that was my next question for you, is how, right? Because I have a friend right now. She's on Facebook. She's incredible. She's amazing. She's a DJ, but one of the things, and she doesn't talk about it, right? She gives little snippets, but I suspect I didn't know it was that much. I didn't know drone pilots could make six figures being a drone pilot with $1,000 piece of equipment. That's a business asset. That's a piece of machinery right there. That's generating revenue. So
yeah, it's a money gun that's in the air and it's spitting all the money at you.
What exactly are the jobs that people are doing with these drone pilots that are making the kind of money that you're talking about? Is Lockheed Martin going out and hiring drone pilots? You touched on it, some of it, right? The real estate agents, they need you to fly over a commercial space because they want that top footage. But what other things and avenues can a drone pilot be necessary for that's making money?
There are so many ways. The FAA has identified over 300 different vertical markets, which are essentially, think of them as a division in your company, and any one of those could easily generate six figures or multiple six figures, which is crazy. And there are really two paths that people can go. One, you can get hired and work for a company as a drone pilot, and there are a lot of people hiring people and looking for drone pilots. In fact, when I pulled it up on ZipRecruiter a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was $114,000 was what they were saying was the average salary for a drone pilot was. Yeah. Now you have to have some credentials and experience and all that to be able to get that. But that's one path, and that's cool but I'm all about entrepreneurship, because I see all these people that spend so much of their time, effort, and money and their talent, and they build up another company. And I'm all about build up your own asset. You build up your own company, your own drone company, whether you do it as a side hustle or you do it full time. but you build it up, and then all of a sudden this thing's spitting out 50, 75, 100, 250, 500, $700,000 a year. You have an asset now that you can sell at one point. You can leverage it. You can pass it on to your kids or grandkids. You've got a legacy piece, and it's yours. It's not, you didn't build it up for someone else. So some things that, and they're all different levels. Those 300 verticals that are out there, there are some that are easy, some that are intermediate, some are advanced, and some are super advanced. But I'll give you a couple examples of some that a lot of people do. So real estate is definitely one. It is the most crowded marketplace, meaning there are more people doing real estate than any other one vertical out there. But here's the crazy part about it. Depending on what report you read, the real estate market has reached somewhere between 7 and 9% saturation. So that means that over 90% of the market is still wide open. And somebody's going to get paid for that. It's just a matter if it's going to be you or somebody else, right? So real estate, and what I love about real estate is realtors. You know, once you start doing work for them, you don't have to sell it again. The next listing they get, they're going to come to you, and the next listing they get, they're going to come to you. And what we've seen is realtors, when they introduce or include aerial imagery with pictures and videos, we see the houses sell faster. They sell for more money. And you know, the realtors, their business explodes and grows up because they're one of the 7 to 9% of the realtors on the market that are doing it. The other big thing for realtors is we see that they increase their listing appointment conversions by like up to 400%. So all realtors are taught, get listings, get listings, get listings. Well, they go to these listing appointments. According to National Realtors Association, the average realtor, they convert 22% of their listing appointments. So if they see 10 people, they're going to get 2 listings. Well, when they include aerial imagery into their offer, we see that go up to 6 or 8 listings. So they put the same effort, but now all of a sudden, instead of 2 listings, they're getting 8 or 6. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So that in itself is just, you know, is a huge thing. And we've seen some realtors really blow up their business, you know, where they used to be driving, you know, Toyotas to drive their clients around. Then they move up to Mercedes, and now they're driving Bentleys and Rollses to drive their clients around, which is pretty cool. And the drone pilot is their secret weapon, right? In fact, we have some guys in our network that they receive a $25,000 to $40,000 basically agreement that they will not shoot for any other realtor within a 3-mile radius in particular areas.
Are you serious? A non-compete?
Yep, a retainer around those particular areas. And because they're just convinced that that's their secret weapon. So it's like, hey, one thing I teach everybody is if anyone wants to give you money, take it. Right?
Well, okay. So what am I charging? Who's paying? Is it the real estate agent that's paying me? Is when the close on the house, then I get paid? Like, and what can I charge?
You can do it that way. I don't really recommend you wait till closing the house, because if something falls through and then they fire that real estate agent, then you've got another agent, you're not going to get paid. Usually the realtors pay for it. It's part of their marketing expense. You know, these realtors, there've been some changes in the realty commission. Hasn't really changed a lot, but it has affected them a little bit. So they're more competitive. And some of the more part-time realtors have just kind of fallen out or gotten out of the game. But if you think about it, look at what the price of housing has done, right? Like the price of housing has gone way up. But the commission, like real estate commissions, it's basically still a 6%, 3% for the seller, 3% for the buyer. So you look at the increase on the average price on a house, and that commission's pretty stout. And to just pay a couple $100 to be able to get, you know, aerial shots, it's definitely worth it. So we typically charge, you know, people in our network, they'll charge about $300 upwards to about $800 to do aerial and ground photo shoots. And then there's all kinds of upsells that they can provide to them, doing hybrid videos, doing, you know, the shorts for like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube shorts and stuff like that, doing the full resolution pictures, doing something we call Scenescape 360, which is where you tie an aerial 360 into a ground 360. So it's basically like a virtual tour, but it also is an aerial tour. So you can bounce back and forth from the ground to the air to look around and see, oh, look, Chick-fil-A is 7 miles from the house. Oh, the movie theater is over there, 2 miles there. So you get a much more complete image than you ever have before.
And so you just terrified me, right? As soon you had me up until you said, now I got to do some video editing, and that's not my strong suit.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's one of like our network. One of the things I did when I started the network was it was everything I wish I had when I started a business. So, like we build websites for people. We've split tests. We've literally spent over $5 million on split testing ads to find out what works, what doesn't work, what converts. We're always constantly innovating and changing. And so everybody gets the benefit of that. I mean, we test everything from like font size to font color to placement to, anything and everything you could think of. And so they get their website, they get video editors, they get photo editors, all that's done because I don't want anyone to do that stuff. Even if you're not going to be part of of our network and benefit from all that stuff, I recommend you go out and you find a video editor to do that stuff for you, because you can literally save yourself hours and just spend pennies to get this stuff done. And there are a lot of resources for that are out there. But if you just don't even want to do that, there's still the technology is so good that it makes it almost good enough you can be competitive even without some of that stuff. And that's just on the real estate side. And then we get into, I mean, we have guys that are doing aerial funerals. This is a huge deal where you create a whole ceremony and you do an ash drop over a lake or a river or a stream or the ocean or a mountaintop. And, the family can go there. We usually have a ground camera. We have a drone that's doing the actual ash drop. We have another drone that's flying around that drone, filming it all. We mix in some glitter with the ashes. And then put it to music, and you end up with this really moving, emotional, touching video that they have as a keepsake. And we can even live stream it. Like if somebody wants, like they can't afford to get the whole family to go out to to New Zealand, the Gold Coast, and they want to do, but that was whoever the mom dad's dream was to do that, and they wanted their ashes spread there. Well, now we can live stream them in and do the ceremony, record everything, and live stream them in and have the whole thing. And again, super easy you can easily do six figures, in that business. And in inspections, that's a whole nother thing. That's a little bit more advanced vertical, but it just blows my mind that we're sending, like last year, there were over 300 fatalities with inspection companies. This is cell tower inspections, wind farm inspections, power line inspections. And the crazy statistic with this is 82% of those inspections, they were doing a routine inspection, or I'm sorry, of 82% of those fatalities, they were doing a routine inspection that a drone could do. Wow. And they're not using it. It's just like over 200 people are not on this planet anymore because they haven't decided that they need to use drones yet. And the crazy part is we can get better data, we can get it faster, we can get it safer, and we can actually create an archive that they have, where we can literally layer it over and then have the AI analyze it and say, hey, this capacitor is running 2 degrees hotter every quarter, and it's going to fail at whatever certain point. Or we're getting some stress cracks. Like there was a bridge in New Jersey that they basically had to shut down, and it ended up costing them literally hundreds of millions of dollars and a massive headache. And if they were just doing drone inspections of that, they would have caught it and they could have fixed it in for nothing, and it wouldn't have had to shut it down for however, I think it was 13 months. It was out of commission. It was just absolutely crazy the impact it has. And cell towers and power lines and wind farms and bridges and dams and roads. And I mean, just the inspection side is just crazy. And I thought that would all be full fledged now. But the reality is, like, I was talking to an inspection company last week, and, I said, look, just why aren't you guys doing it? He said, man, here's the reality. None of our competitors are really doing it. And if we incorporate that, we have to change our system. We have to retrain our people. It's just, there's friction and there's pain around it. And until we have to, we're not going to. I was like, all right, I appreciate the honesty.
That's super honest.
Yep.
That
But
is super honest. So there is a multitude of avenues to make money at this thing at a respectable price point. Where is it? Should I post a? Should I be applying for a drone pilot? I've done all the back work. Should I be applying for a drone pilot, or should I be updating my LinkedIn that I'm a drone pilot, or should I just be sending out mailers or connecting with you? Because it sounds like you guys are kind of soup to nuts. You guys are doing everything, and
yeah, I
after
think
the academy, it's not just the academy.
Yeah, I think probably the best thing. I mean, yes, you can do all those things that you mentioned, but I'll tell you, because this is a disruptive industry and a lot of people don't know that they need the services. In fact, one of the biggest reasons, like, I think nobody's really using it is because it is so new, just like what that guy told me last week. And they haven't had a fatality related with their inspections, thank goodness. But once they do, then he'll probably shift his priority on that. But the same thing with realtors. Like, we have a lot of realtors that are just like, no, I'm not, that's a fad. We're not going to use that. We're not going to use drones until they get a client and they're at a listing appointment. And the client's like, hey, you're going to use drone stuff, aren't you? And they're like, yeah, of course we are. Yeah. And then they're frantically trying to, call you up and dig your card up and stuff when you went by there. So I say all that to say, definitely put the stuff out there. But in this industry, the real way that you can become, the way to become successful is you got to go out there and basically put the bird in the air and show the clients what you can do. If you want to fail in this business, sit behind your computer, send out, tweets and send out, call people on the phone, text people, send them emails, do it that way. And you're not going to pick it up because people don't know. They don't know the real benefit until they actually see it. And then when they see it, they can't unsee it. And then it gets their wheels turning and they start thinking of all the things they can do and all the ideas and, everything that's there. Because there's so much stuff, whether you're doing a commercial roof inspection, or you're doing some kind of wildlife surveillance or whatever it is. Hotels and resorts is a huge, huge opportunity that is going to be a pretty narrow window because there's a limited number of hotels and resorts. But these guys, I think it's less than 15% of them have aerial imagery of any kind. So, massive opportunities there. So what I would recommend people do, we do a 3-day immersion training. It's normally $500, but for your listeners, we have a special promo where it's just $99 if they want to come there. So we're hooking you up and we want to hook them up. It's 3 days. It's 3 full days. It's not like, 45 minutes a day. They're full days, but there's a lot of information. Most people love it. That go there. They're like, this is the greatest thing ever. They will learn more about drones than they ever knew that they could know. And in there, of course, there's an invitation to come join our network and we'll lay out all the benefits and everything there. But just the fact of spending that 3 days and learning about it, they're going to learn so much that they can carry into not only that, if they want to do a drone business, but literally any other business. Because we do a lot of it on marketing and positioning and proposition, the actual value. Because really, there's no such thing as actual value. It's perceived value. How much is something worth to someone? And that's where people have a really hard time in a drone space. They're like, how can I charge somebody, $5,000 for 45 minutes of my time? And it's like, well, it's worth $8,000 to them for what you're giving them. So that's how you can do it. And most people that have never made that before, it messes with their head and they're just like, and they but when they understand that it's the value you're bringing, people don't really care what it costs as long as you're getting it. And usually the advantage drones have is we're saving them so much. And some of it's not necessarily monetary. Like if there's been a fatality in a inspection and you can go out there and eliminate that whole thing from happening. I mean, and there is a monetary consequence to fatalities because there's, usually some kind of insurance and premiums that go up and, dismemberment insurance and paying spousal support. And there's all kinds of other stuff that goes along with it. But as far as what they see immediately on the bottom line in that division, there's a big emotional toll that it plays on them too, which is a huge benefit. So I would recommend that if you didn't want to commit to the 3 days, we do have a free, it's a couple hour essentially deep dive podcast where we're just talking about some of the different opportunities that you can take advantage of, some of the low hanging fruit. And that's where I'd recommend, people start, and we'll get you the link for that so you can get it to everybody.
Look at that, y'all. Getting you the goods. I told y'all in the very beginning, this interview, this man is incredible. Another round of applause for the drone boss. Incredible. Sir, I want to apologize at first because you have got me so interested. I want to play a game. I want to play a game with you. I'm gonna do this kind of in real time, right? So you messed me up. I'm on Amazon and I'm looking for a drone. I was literally like scanning for drones, and I need your help because I see a DJI brand, Potensic brand, Ruko brand, Hollystone, Dirk, Hover Air. So I need your help. I want to do this with you on the podcast. What is the best drone? That $1,000? Okay, let's start there. You said $1,000, right?
Yeah.
I should $1,000 for a quality drone. So I'm gonna put my benchmark here, 980, and where should my end marker be? Like 2,500?
Yeah, 1,500.
1,500. So 1,500 between 1,000 and 1,500 benchmark here is our price point for drones. All right, so I got close 1,600 there. Let's go. And so brands. Obviously, I want 5-star and up. I want the best of the best. I don't want the cheap stuff. And it came up with DJI. So is DJI the top drone? DJI.
By far right now, yeah. And I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on drones, and I can tell you all the ones not to get and why not to, but the easiest way to do it is just tell you what to get. So right now there's some issues getting DJI, which will probably be cleared up in the next 3 months, I'd imagine. But the one I recommend, if you can get it, it's the DJI Air 3S. Make sure it's got the S on it. That's the newer model. Amazon might not have it at this time. They had it last week, but they've been periodically out of stock. If you can't get the Air 3S, then I would look at the Air 3, which I see a couple of them there on your screen. And the Air 3 is just the previous model than the Air 3S. It's still an amazing drone, and it can do all of the low-hanging fruit stuff to easily generate, a bunch of money for you. And I think that's absolutely by far the best bang for your buck that you can get. And then if you couldn't get any of the DJI drones, then I would look at an Autel Evo Lite, which is an orange looking drone. It's a great drone, but the technology is about 5 years old, but it's still a good drone. And it's the Evo Lite Plus is the one that you'd want to look for, and it's about that same. I think it's like $1,099 or something like that. And they should have it there. And I just want to share something really quick with you guys. So when we started Sky Network, we did a beta program, and I got a bunch of people together, and I had 3 criteria. Number one, they couldn't have any successful entrepreneurial experience, meaning they could have never netted more than $42,500 in a year running a business of any kind. Because some of them had like HVAC companies, and they do like $1 million a year, but they net like 28,000 or 35,000 or something like that. So they couldn't make more than 42,500 a year running a business. They couldn't have any drone experience, and they couldn't have any videography or photography experience. Because I thought if they were amazing entrepreneurs, then that would be an unfair advantage. If they were amazing drone pilots, that would be an unfair advantage. Or if they were amazing cinematographers or photographers, that would be an unfair advantage. So we put all these people in this group and they had to fly the cheapest drone out there, pretty much. Not near as fancy as the ones that I just gave you, the Autel and the DJI. It wasn't, and there was nothing like that out back when we did this. This was 10 years ago when we started Sky Network. And the goal was to get them from 0 to 6 figures in 12 months or less. And I was pretty nervous because only one of those people was doing it full time. Everybody else was doing it part time, meaning they had a full time job or they already had an existing business they were running, and they're just going to do this as a side hustle. But at the end of the year, everybody exceeded that 6-figure mark, and we knew we had a winner. And so we rolled out Sky Network, and that was, since then we've taught almost 15,000 people how to start their own drone businesses. And we've been training people with these drone commands and all this stuff, ever since then. So my point with that is, they could do it back then when it was harder and people didn't know about it, and the technology wasn't as good, and the drones weren't even near as good as what you can get now. And they were basically, it cost a whole lot more for a whole lot less. It'd be like getting an old, if the value wasn't there. But remember Yugos, if you're a car guy at all? Do you ever remember those cars, the Yugo?
I don't, forgive me.
Okay.
I don't.
So
Apologize.
Yugo was a pretty cheap, junky car, but it would be like if somebody offered you a Yugo versus like a Tesla Model S Plaid, and for the same price, you get either one for $7,000. Which one would you rather have? and and so the technology, it's just so much better now. And of course, as the technology gets better, the price comes down. We saw that with flat screen TVs, plasma TVs. Plasma TVs first came out, they were like $40,000 for a little 42-inch, which that was big back then, but now it's little. Now you can go get one at Wally World for $69.
That's true. That's so true. Is there anybody as a drone professional that you refuse to work with, or is there any industry that you stay away from with the drone business? I know I always try to play devil's advocate, right? I don't want to make it seem like it's all amazing, and it could be, right? It could be all amazing. But are there any industries that you stay away from when in the drone industry?
Not really. I would probably say Hollywood,
Yeah.
just because it's Hollywood to me is kind of like the NFL. It attracts the greatest, and it's the most competitive for the least amount of opportunities. And it's sexy because they're like, oh, I did a Hollywood film, but doing Hollywood stuff it's pretty boring. You sit around all day. You're usually on shoot for a week or two, and yeah, you're making good money. You might make like 15 or 20 grand, but you do like one or two a year, and it's just it doesn't have all the appeal. And you got to deal with a lot of hot tempered people that are all divas, and it can just be stressful and difficult. So that would probably be the one that I would recommend people don't go after. But pretty much everything else, I mean, if you think about it, pretty much almost every business can benefit from drones. Like you mentioned, Amazon and Walmart are using them inside on their inventory management stuff. And when Walmart did that a couple years ago, they were able to do inventory management reconciliation in their big warehouse using ground and flying drones. They could do it in about 18 hours, what took a team of 24 people a month to do. And the people did it with 72% accuracy, and the drones did it with 99.2% accuracy. So it's just, from that side to the local roofer, to the local business, the pizza shop. You do an aerial shot of the local pizza shop, that's, or the car dealership. They could never afford that before. That was 30 or 50 grand to get a cinematographer and a helicopter and the permits and all that. And now you can go out there and get them just amazing shots. And, if you've ever got, I don't care if it's a scrap yard or a bagel shop, you can go into a lot of old businesses and you'll see a picture of their business from the air. And usually somebody was flying by in a Cessna and they took pictures. And I used to do this with my drones back in the 90s. Is I'd fly over nice houses and I'd take pictures with them, and I'd get them printed up and blown up and put them on frame them. And I'd go to the house and I'd say, hey, I was flying over, your house looked amazing. I took this picture. If you'd like it, I'll sell it to you for $500. And if not, I'll just tear it up now and no one will ever see it again. And I'd sell them left and right. And then I'd upsell them into a legacy book, like a coffee table book. We take pictures of all their toys and cars and, planes and helicopters and boats and whatever stuff they had, and, charge them $3,000 to make this legacy book. And then I upcharge them again for a video. And there's so much opportunity. And that's just a dude with his toys, right? But, you go out in real estate and all the other stuff, there's so much value that's out there for it.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Upsell them. I know I hear the person watching this and screaming at the back of the lug, right? They're scared to death of automation, right? The autonomous vehicles, all of that. Um, will AI replace drone operators? Should I be scared? If because I let's say I invest in Sky Eye, and then here comes Elon Musk with AI, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and now they don't even need pilots anymore. What would you say to that skeptic who's worried about being replaced? I thought you're always going to need an operator, but you mentioned it earlier that artificial intelligence can run this whole thing. So should I invest, or could I be replaced down the road?
Well, you definitely should, because look, with AI, you can either be behind it, you can be with it, or you can be above it. And if you're not in front of it and a part of it, then you're going to be left behind, 100%, regardless of what it is. And so with the drones, it's just going to shift. So people that are operating drones, that's going to still go on for probably the next 3 to 5 years. And again, it's not because the technology isn't there and they can't do it. It's the regulatory side. Um, we still need the people there to be able to take care of. Just like right now, the technology's out there. If we got rid of all the non-autonomous driving cars, we would wipe out something in the neighborhood of like 50 million fatalities a year caused by automobiles. But the couple hundred that still would happen, we're going to blame the robots for killing them, right? And
Right.
that's a bad thing. Even though we say 50 million people, it's still a bad thing. So we're still going to have human involvement longer than we technically need it to be. But the thing that you shouldn't be afraid of is you're going to be, the earlier you get in, the earlier you establish yourself, then you're going to be one of the experts in your area, in this industry. And it's just going to shift. So and they'll still be flying, just like even like with cameras, digital cameras replaced pretty much all the film, but there's still film stuff out there. They're just more niche and all that. But your business, instead of you actually flying the drones, you're going to be setting up the missions and programming and outfitting these companies with the equipment and the software, and in taking care of firmware updates, replacing when new gear comes out, new equipment. So it's just going to be a different type of the business is going to shift slightly. Still going to be drones and that, but it's going to be a lot more on the programming side, than on the actual flying side. But again, that's down the road, probably 5 years or longer, just because of the regulatory side of it. And I sit at NASA, at UTAM at NASA, which is unmanned traffic management. And for the last decade, we've been battling with how do we deal with the integration of literally thousands of drones in the air. How do we do it safely? And then how do we do it where there's not a bunch of visual pollution or noise pollution, with all that stuff going out there with delivery drones and Uber Air and the drone taxis and deliveries and emergency services and security drones and all the stuff that's going to be going on. And we're going to see, just like with computers. I remember, back in the early 70s, I went to the State Fair of Texas, and General Electric had this big booth there. And I remember it was the Jetsons for me. And I remember they had that the average person back then worked 42 hours a week, I think is what they said the average person worked. And they said by the year 2000, that because of robots and technology, microwaves and washers and dryers and all this stuff, the average person was going to work 12 hours a week, because it was going to replace all the need for humans to do stuff. But that's not how we are. We created a whole new computer technology system that we didn't even know anything about then, and it created a bigger job market and created more jobs than we ever had before. And the same thing is going to happen with drones. There's going to be thousands of jobs that no one's ever even thought of yet in just the next couple of years, and all kinds of opportunities around that. So the key is getting in sooner rather than later. And like right now, the industry is really like this big wave. And if you've ever surfed or are familiar with kind of the concept of surfing, you paddle out and then you just paddle and get on the wave. Now, it's not as easy as it looks, but once you're on the wave does all the work. You're just along for the ride. And that's basically where we are now. If you get out there and you become a part of this, you get at the front end of it, then you're just along for the ride. And your business just gets bigger and bigger and more well known and more well known. And it just grows. fact, the biggest complaint we have.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
I was just going to say the biggest complaint we have from our members is they all say, "Man, I wish I did more sooner when I first started." And I think that's indicative to just how much momentum is there. It's like compound interest. It's like if we all really understood it and knew, we would have put that extra $50 when we were 12 years old into an account, so we'd have an extra $1 million at the end, our retirement time, right?
In a Facebook account or a Amazon account, when Amazon was first getting started, or when Apple was like, "Hey, I got an idea about this phone thing," and then you would have like, let me put my money in now. So get in. It's not too late. Is it too late for that young boy, that young girl out in the audience who is still questioning, but they're watching you right now? What would you say to that young boy watching you who wants to get involved but doesn't know if they should or not? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I would say just jump, just do it. But if you're not sure, if you're on the fence, come to our 3-day training. It's dronecommandlive.com, and check it out, or go to our dronepreneur workshop. I think it's dronepreneurworkshop.com. We'll get the links, and you can just check it out and see if it makes sense, if it resonates with you, and if this is something you want to do. Because what I tell everybody is, if you're thinking about getting into drone space, it's either got to be just a heck yeah or a heck no. And one of the two things. And we have one Air Force veteran, a young kid, that same deal as you, flew a drone, crashed it, and said, "I will never fly one of these things again. Like, forget it." And then he started a drone business. And several years ago, we actually awarded him. We have these challenge coins like they have in the military, when people hit different markers in their business. And so he had surpassed the $1 million mark. And he had, it's radically changed his life, because he's a millionaire because of his drone business. And he's like, "Man, I can't believe," he said, "the drones that are out now versus what I flew, they're totally different." And so we have some people that have no interest in flying the drones. They just want to be the CEO of their company, and they can hire pilots to fly them. So, if there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely. Do it. Jump in, get started. Don't hesitate a second longer. Connect. Sir, how can people find you? I know you mentioned the academy. I know people mentioned you mentioned the school, but how can people connect with you, stay connected, watch what you're doing, your YouTube, your Facebook, buy the book on Amazon? How can people connect?
Yeah, all of that stuff. The Drone Boss. So you can go follow me on YouTube, or Facebook, or anything. And I'd really encourage you to come to our Dronepreneur workshop. We'll put the links for you there, or come to Drone Command Live. Just jump in and come out there. We're making a crazy deal. We're giving you $400 off the ticket price. And by the way, it's guaranteed. If at the end of the first day you don't think it's worth 5 times what you paid for it, we'll give you your money back, no questions asked. And you're going to get a whole bunch of bonuses and resources and stuff for just showing up. So if you're remotely interested, or somebody that you think might be remotely interested, have them check it out.
Get started. Sir, you are being phenomenal. You have been phenomenal in this show. I thank you. I want to say this to you publicly. Thank you for what you do. It's needed. You are necessary, sir.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it so much, Marcus. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to hang out with you, man.
The pleasure is all mine. You keep being great, sir. You keep being phenomenal. Oh my gosh, y'all. We have been having too much fun. We are out of time. We got to let this incredible man go. He has many more world records to break, many more students to teach, and many more lives to change and impact. So we got to let him go, unfortunately. But fortunately, you have the ways to connect with him. For our audio listeners, connect thedroneboss.com. Get involved with an entrepreneur course. We're going to put the links in the show notes, of course, but check him out. He's dope. His company's dope, and he's changing the world one drone at a time. Like we end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always take care of business. This is Marcus, your favorite host, favorite gentleman, and the super fragilistic expialidocious, the Drone Boss, signing off. Love you guys. Bye.